Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So it looks like military action is taking place in the Donbas region of Ukraine by the Russian military, aided, I guess, by separatists within the country of the breakaway places. I mean, I'm against war, but what this shows is that the people that we elect are only out for themselves. They will try and tell you that this is done for you, for the people, but it doesn't matter whether it's Vladimir Putin, President Putin of Russia, whether it's George W. Bush, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, Tony Blair, whoever they are. They're doing it for their own gain, or for the gain they see for the country. But what interested me, I was watching Sky News, I was seeing how they're reporting it, and they do actually do a fair job of getting different kinds of views, sort of some maybe more pro-Russia, some more pro-West. You'd expect Sky News to be, because it's a pro-West media outlet. I don't think you can say any media outlet is independent. Humans aren't independent. It's impossible to be independent because the way you're brought up. If you're brought up, say, in this country, in the West, where you're shown films and the villains are always Russian, or when you see Russians, they're spies and they can't be trusted and this, that and the other, then obviously everyone has like this mindset that's over time is programmed through schooling, through what you observe on TV. All these types of things make up your like, I don't know I heard the term for it, but I can't remember what it is now. It's not EQ, but it's something where it makes your bias. It's not it's a conceptual bias. I can't remember what, something like that. Your bias, and that's we all have that. That's where people more recently have been talking about racial bias, where people will do things will not even realise they're being racist, by maybe in a job interview not seeing people because they believe that this, that and the other about them, or not employing them. So there's a lot of that. We understand that more now. It's made more aware to us that we all have that kind of set up. I don't think there's a way of getting around it. The only way of getting around it is if you teach people the truth in the first place. The truth being that we're all humans and we're all the same, and we're just giving ourselves different names and different regions and borders, which are man-made concepts that are not natural, not intrinsic. But I guess that's too dangerous to do that, because then that shows each one of us that we're actually all the same, and there's no such thing as power and celebrity and all that are illusionary. But yeah, what was interesting is because then I was checking Russia Today, the RT channel, is actually on Sky. I didn't realise that. If you say on your Sky RT, and it will come up. I assume it's on Virgin as well. And it wasn't as bad as I thought, because Sir Keir Starmer was saying about Russia Today should have their licence taken away from Ofcom. But actually what I saw of it was the Alex Salmon show, but it wasn't him there. It wasn't that pro-Russia. I was expecting a lot worse. I was expecting it to be like in a proper, a station made in Russia. It doesn't look like it's made in Russia, and the journalist there didn't look Russian. But it was interesting to see their slant was obviously more pro-Russia, and I suppose people would say, well, that's terrible, but wait a minute, what do you think when you watch BBC or Sky News? You don't think it's pro-West? You think it's independent? You think that these human beings are somehow more special than other human beings and able to be truly independent? No, you hear the same thing on Sky News, where they talked about Putin's speech being rambling, or they use those kinds of verbiage to, those types of words to colour your perception of what you didn't even bother to listen to. but they won't use those same kinds of, they won't say like Joe Biden was rambling. You know, they might do it for Donald Trump, but you know, they won't say that. They won't say Boris Johnson has made a rambling speech, even though his speeches are often very incoherent, you know, the way they flow. But they won't do it because that's the bias kicking in. It's like, you know, during, you know, it's like in Animal Farm 1984, the creation of, say, Big Brother, or I always forget in Animal Farm the name. It's not Snowball. Snowball's the one they blame, but you know, creating an enemy. No, it's Snowball. Creating an enemy who you must hate, and that is important. It's the same with Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, Adolf Hitler. You know, you have to have these characters, and that's part of the bias. It's part of that. But yeah, it was interesting to see that you can put on 2 different news channels, probably made in London, with the same kind of journalists, almost with the same kind of background, and yet their journalistic skills allow them to tell the same truth, as it were, with different slants, you know. And then it leads you to believe, wait a minute, how do you know which one's true? How do you know, you know? Is this because that he's a madman and he's invading this country because he wants it for possession? Or is it to do with NATO? Is it that the West has done this on purpose, that they've tried to get Ukraine into NATO, and knowing that this would be the outcome, and had peace talks, made themselves look good by having peace talks? We're going to have peace talks, but on the table, according to what I've heard on even Sky News, you know, they didn't capitulate anything, so they didn't allow his fear of Ukraine joining, you know, NATO to sway them from changing from that, or giving reassurances, or to do with the Minsk number 2. So, you know, that's how you could create the perception of, oh yeah, it's Russia that did it. Whereas it could be that the West always knew that if they just had these peace talks, go to them, they look like they're the peaceful ones, but then don't give him any leeway, and then allowing him then, well, what's he meant to do then? If he really feels that NATO is a threat, because it's part of Europe, part of the Western world, right next door to him. I mean, what is the reason why Ukraine is joining NATO? So that's what I mean. You could, if you don't think about those things, because you're biased, you're not going to think, well, wait a minute, you're just going to think that, well, this is a war, you know, a man that just wants to take over this country, and that's all it's about. Whereas actually it may be that this has been not orchestrated, but the West know the weaknesses of someone like Putin. If they don't give him what he wants, eventually he's going to take it. We know that with humans, that you can do that. And then, of course, you can still make it out that, no, you naughty boy, you. I told you not to do that, and you went ahead and did it anyway. So yeah, that's just that's the problem with these things. The media will often tell you how to think. Politicians will tell you how to think. They will give you their agenda. If you go to both sides, then how do you know which one's telling the truth? How do you know what a person's intentions were? But I feel sorry more for the people that now are, you know, like, as always, the people are the pawns of this game, as these people, the rich people, the powerful people, sit in their bunkers, but these people have to now go fight, or have to defend their own country, or lose their lives for a bit of land that we never possess, because we all live and die. Take it easy, God bless, and peace.